we're going to do something today about pricing of lessons, and something which I've written some blogs about called funny money. When I say funny money, I mean the type of thing that you get when people try to sell you insurance and stuff like that. When they'll say something like, for only 50p a day or £1 a day you can, whatever it is, they'll say, you know, safeguard your family, blah 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 blah. Now if they'd said for 330 quid it's going to cost you for this insurance policy per year, you probably wouldn't even read any more of the small print. But as soon as they say it's £1 a day, it doesn't seem to be that bad. Now, that sort of psychology about numbers is so important, and we sort of lose sight of that. And obviously people have done this for years, because this idea of £5.99 or £4.99, or playing around with numbers that finish with 7, which is another classic one that often used to happen on the internet, where you'd get something and the offer was £97, because people like the number 7 more than anything else. Apparently it's the most common lucky number. So if you've got a situation where you're charging people for an hour, that will obviously appear to be quite a lot of money. Whereas if you taught them for half an hour, that amount of money doesn't seem to be so great. Now, this is something that's cropped up over time. I saw something on a forum about this recently, but I used to teach a guy who used to do 3-hour lessons. And he came to me for advice about sorting out his income, because he was having problems. I thought, well, my goodness, apart from anything else, you're not charging probably enough per hour, because if somebody's paying for 3 hours, you've got to make it less because of what the financial situation will become if they're paying for 3, if that makes sense. So if he's paying, like, if somebody was paying for, you know, £20 an hour as a ballpark, let's just pluck that out of the air, that's 60 quid. But you're only getting £20 an hour. And if you wanted to get £40 an hour, then that's going to be a lot of money if people are paying for a 3-hour lesson. So the idea was to make the lessons much shorter and for him to charge much more per hour. And he did that, and apparently, you know, he actually doubled his income within 3 months doing that. Now, I've heard recently about people who are doing these 1-hour lessons, and then because as soon as people run into a problem financially, they then ask whether the lessons can become every fortnight. Well, then that effectively halves your income, if everybody did it. So what I'm suggesting here is that when you're putting together how you're going to do your work and what your pricing and everything is, have a variety of ways of price points. So people could do like group lessons, which are not that expensive, and but you're making a lot of money. This is something that I think we sort of balk at, this idea that we should do that. But I know some very, very, very successful guitar teachers who just do group lessons, and they're charging quite a lot of money for a group lesson. But of course, in the eyes of the person who's having the lesson, it doesn't appear to be any more than what anybody else is charging. But the fact is that they're sharing a lesson. And in that way, you know, the teacher's sort of getting 2 or even 3 times the amount of money. So, and obviously you're limited with space and all the rest of it in order to do that. But it's just changing your perspective about how you organise your income. So here's a few ideas that you could look at. Group lessons if you can, or even lessons that are joint lessons. If you do that, make sure you're earning as much from each person as you would hope to get from one person. Maybe, because obviously if you have a joint lesson and somebody drops out, then you're not getting enough. So make sense of all of that. So find out how much you really need to charge in order to be making a living, and then that's your lowest rate, and then get 2 people or 3 people in, if you can do that, because if you've got the space. If you're travelling to people, make sure that's at a premium, because your time is obviously valuable, but the convenience thing for somebody is massive. Now, I often look at the sort of rates that are being charged by people who are doing complementary therapies, for instance, or they may be hairdressers that travel to houses, things that are outside of the scope of music, because we tend to have this idea that, you know, music's, and we sort of ring fence that and all this. But in actual fact, you can learn a lot from the type of people who are doing massage, they're doing, you know, whatever it is, Reiki, I don't know, whatever, you know, it's not that, you know, that's not of an interest to me. What the interest is that they are doing something that people are paying for that's not essential. Now, it may appear essential, but, and that's something else we're going to come to in a minute, but those type of people, they're being paid in excess of what somebody needs. They don't, you know, it's not food, it's not shelter and all the rest of it. See what I mean? So they're a good sort of barometer of what you should be charging. The other thing is that those people maybe don't go as regularly as you might as a teacher. So you keep that in mind as well. But if somebody's doing a regular thing, I'm just trying to think of an example of that. Maybe like a yoga teacher or something. And they're doing group lessons. And if you get somebody who's a really good yoga teacher, they'll be charging quite a lot of money, particularly if you go to places like London. And when it gets to things like personal development and stuff, the amounts of money that people are being paid for stuff like that can be absolutely jaw-dropping. And if you're thinking about, you know, I'm charging, then the next bit is, what are you actually selling? Now, normally when I do talks about this, people look at me like, I'm teaching guitar, mate. You know, but no, you're not. You're actually making a dream happen. You know, that dream may be somebody becoming famous. Well, if somebody said, you know, if you said, well, I can guarantee that, how much would they pay you for that? You know, if you get your mindset on that and think, well, you know, you're offering something other than just guitar teaching, because the problem is, if you are just little Johnny's guitar teacher, as soon as things get rough, you're the first one to go. You're the first one to be cut back on. But if you are an important part of little Johnny's education for his ability to think creatively, that's really going to make a difference to this little kid as he gets older, because he's going to be able to think creatively and outthink all of his peers, you are valuable. It's that mindset you've got to get, not that you just happen to be the guitar teacher. Okay, so that's another point. That adds value to what you're doing. And then it's down to you to work out what it is that makes you special. Okay, so there's a few things there. So different price points, maybe different lengths of teaching, different types of teaching, different things that you're offering. You know, could you do special courses and stuff like that that are still tapping into the same people? And then you start to cross-reference things. I've mentioned this over and over again over the years, but that is so important, because often people are just doing one thing and it's that, and that's bang, that's it. You know, they're teaching guitar in a school and they never see those people again. Why aren't they turning up at gigs? Why aren't those people playing at gigs? Why aren't you selling them equipment? Why aren't you selling them books, getting them to do their exams and do special things to do with oral training? Whatever. Think of it. Think of the different possibilities and offer different things. And be creative. Be really creative. And the other point is, be essential, because the blogs that I write are always dipping into this sort of psychological thing, and the point is that is where the future of teaching is going to be, because you are going to lose out to some app, algorithm, robot, YouTube clip, but you need to be able to get in there and sort, because the thing that a computer can't do is what the human brain can do in its ability to be flexible, find out what it is that people need, and really go and change people. Okay. Anyway, there's a few ideas there. I hope that's going to be of use to you, and I'll see you again soon.